This Washington, D.C. neighborhood is as dangerous as Juarez, Mexico. Others aren't much better. But what you're hearing mainstream media say is, we don't understand why President Trump is sending in federal troops. Crime stats are down. What's the deal? Let's get into it. Here we go. The District of Columbia's Ward 8 is on track to have a homicide rate this year of roughly 71.9 per 100,000 people population, slightly higher than the murder rate recorded in Mexico's Ciudad Juarez, a city that frequently appears on lists of the most dangerous places in the world. During 2024, Washington Examiner review of public data has found Ward 8 includes Anacostia, is that pronounced? Widely regarded by locals as the most dangerous part of the district, as well as a section of Navy Yard, an adjacent neighborhood popular with young professionals that frequently appear in local news stories on crime, such as when armed suspects barricaded themselves inside a luxury apartment building, or when a sitting congressman was carjacked at gunpoint last year. Many have claimed that crime is spilling over from Anacostia into Navy Yard, which are connected via train. Democrats, including former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, boy, they're both questionable individuals, aren't they? They have dismissed the idea that Washington is unsafe by arguing that violent crime is falling. Their statements followed President Donald Trump's announcement this week he's going to be committing federal resources to address crime in the district. But data show that crime remains a serious problem in Washington, D.C., as does the persistent homelessness. And in some pockets of the city, the murder rate is higher than in places generally considered some of the most dangerous in the world. Washington Examiner talked to multiple young professionals who live otherwise spend extended periods of time in D.C., who uniformly complained of the chaotic atmosphere and persistent feeling of danger. So, there's all this pushback on, DC's fine. It's a big city. It's got some crime. It's not perfect. But all of this pushback, we saw what happened with all the pushback on, criminal illegals, right? There was a little bit of, hey, these people are innocent. You're tossing innocent. Well, no, if they came into the country illegal, they're a criminal. So we're tossing criminal illegals out of the country back to where they came, wherever it is that they go. There's a little bit of pushback that, the left had on that. That was like, had some believability. But when you're pushing back on this and political leaders across the country, Democrats are pushing back on straight up crime, that's a tough sell. That doesn't fly. It flies in the face of reason, and it flies in the face of, let's check out this lady's story. Journalist shares harrowing D.C. crime story. I didn't feel the city was protecting me. Washington Examiner reporter Anna Ghirtelli shared a deeply personal account in the Ingram angle of how a violent assault in 2020 forced her to leave the nation's capital. Garrett recalled walking to the post office on a Saturday morning near Union Station in D.C. Suddenly, a man lunged at her in broad daylight. I believed I was fighting for my life, she said. She explained that she was sexually assaulted before a construction worker and other bystanders rushed in to help. This is Saturday morning. Walk into the post office. The attacker fled, but police later arrested him using DNA evidence from the scene. Ugh, that is just horrible. Man was a repeat offender and he lived homeless near Ghirtelli's apartment. In the months after the attack, authorities arrested him 5 more times. However, each time a judge ordered his release. They didn't want to fill up the jails during COVID. We're worried about the safety. We're worried about these inmates getting COVID and passing it to each other. Instead, let's allow them to just do some more raping on the streets of D.C., because this guy already has, literally. Let's go ahead and make our citizens unsafe because a bunch of criminals were worried about getting the extended flu. For me, that was something that put his safety over my safety, Ghirtelli said. She argued that the repeated releases stemmed from policies intended to avoid jail overcrowding during COVID. Remember that? Just, let them go because we don't want to see criminals get COVID. That was pure insanity. And the criminals knew, hey, it is go time. It's go, whatever your crime may be, let's go, boys and girls, it's go time. And remember, all those statistics just boop right through the roof. So that lady, I watched the interview with her on the Ingram, and she said she felt really kind of relieved and that somebody was actually standing up for her story when Trump said, hey, we're sending feds into Washington, D.C. because it's wildly out of control. And then you've got this pushback. It's not that bad. Blue cities and Trump's crosshairs after D.C. police take over. Oh, man, please send troops to Seattle. That'd be the best. Oh, can you see the protesters? Bunch of overweight, blue-haired people just go, what's happening? The secret police are here. We need it. One of my last stories here, I'm just going to read it now. City orders closure of Seattle homeless encampment and public park after double homicide. And we're going to get back to DC, but check this story out. This is literally pure insanity, and we've got a lot of this going on in Seattle. So, yes, I desperately hope Trump sends people to Seattle. That'd be great. Here we go.
The final straw for the city of Seattle to remove a growing homeless encampment.
2 people were shot and killed feet away from children playing. This happened last night at 𝗪𝗠𝗧𝗏 Park. Police are still trying to find the killer.
KOLO's Jeremy Harris live at that park tonight. Jeremy, the city sent crews out there today?
Yeah, Preston and Mary, the city came out here today and they posted notices on trees and in the encampment telling people to get their belongings out of the park. Witnesses told me that just over here on this playground, children were running to get away from the gunfire in that encampment during the shooting last night. But they say this is just the latest in a string of problems. And while police search for the shooter, neighbors hope the city can search for a solution.
Insanity.
Keeping cool on a hot day. People in North Seattle come to Richard Ridouth's Little Tiger Ice Cream.
This is crazy. How do you run a business this way?
But Richard says he and other shop owners here in the Lake City neighborhood say they're at their limit with safety issues this summer. 2 years ago, you and I sat here and had almost the identical conversation.
It's worse now than it was then. Seattle doesn't want to hear. They don't want to listen. They just have their way to do things.
2 people were shot and killed just a block.
And this is identical throughout the country. You've got leadership that has gone down this justice reform, just nonsense that doesn't work. Yeah, allow the criminals to just do their thing, homeless, rape people, assault people. We had some nut job in downtown Seattle in the waterfront where, you just got millions of tourists. He walked right up to a dude that is a veteran in a wheelchair, and he plays music for people as they walk up and down the boardwalk there on the waterfront. And this crazy guy that's anti-Trump, he came up, pulled out a gun out of his bag, and just shot this vet right in the chest, cracked his ribs, bullet exited, I believe, didn't kill him. The guy's going to live. But you've got just absolute Looney Tune people running around doing crazy stuff, and same drill in D.C., same drill in Chicago, same drill in L.A., same drill in San Francisco. I mean, all of these big liberal cities, they have big population centers, and they've also got criminal actions going on that warrant bringing the feds in. Whether or not the feds coming in will actually help, who knows, right? But it's the message in the right direction. We are not going to tolerate shenanigans. In fact, we're going to enforce law and order. Here we go. Please bring the feds to Seattle. That'd be great.
Walk away from here at 𝗪𝗠𝗧𝗏 Park. Police said the shooter ran off.
Oh, bang, 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 bang. That certainly wasn't coming from the kids playing around in the swings.
Chris Meyer and his neighbors have been trying to get the city's attention to the growing camp for a month.
It's just a shame to have it tainted or for people to feel unsafe in their park. People need to feel safe when they're here.
The city has now put up these notices telling people in the encampment to leave. But Chris says the camp was already cleared once earlier this summer.
They got rid of all the leftover trash, but they came the campers came back. And they came back in hordes. There's more.
It's almost like, oh, we're sorry. We have to clean you up.
This guy, listen to this.
Your mess and drain your porta potty and get a truck in here to get all your garbage. And we're sorry to interrupt your day. I mean, what is that about?
Richard says the city's approach to encampments and crime has been too lenient, and the double homicide here was a predictable outcome.
Because we have a reputation of smoke your dope, spread your graffiti, we don't care. We'll feed you. We'll give you clothes. We'll reward you for bad actions. Despair. That's what's happening. Because there's no action that we can see from the powers that be to actually do something.
We know from police, the two victims who died were men, one in his 30s, one in his 40s. Their identities haven't been released yet. Police haven't given any updates on their search for that shooter. Neighbors tell me they've been reporting this encampment to the city's Find It, Fix It app. In fact, one neighbor told me he went over, took pictures of the crime scene, and sent it into the Find It, Fix It app yet again. Reporting live in the Lake City neighborhood, Jeremy Harris, KOMO News.
Jeremy, thank
Could you imagine? Hey, yeah, you're going to want to pay attention to this because, remember all those other posts I've sent in to you guys? Find It, Fix It app. Well, there's been a double homicide, so you might want to send somebody out to fix it, right? And this is the exact same thing in DC. These big liberal cities that hands off, we're just going to let the justice system work itself out. Let's close down all the prisons. Should be fine. What could go wrong? Shenanigans. Trump distorts violent crime statistics in ordering takeover and troops to DC. We're reading from the factcheck.org. Yeah. Right? Some of the stuff I read. This is classic. President Donald Trump inaccurately claimed that the murder rate in Washington, D.C. reached the highest rate probably ever in 2023, and he ignored a decline in murders since then to justify a federal takeover of the city's law enforcement. So the left is going to sit behind a bunch of statistics that they cherry pick and aren't really all that relevant. The rest of us are like, well, Trump's finally doing something that somebody else should have done long ago. He's taking a stand and saying, hey, no more nonsense, no more shenanigans. What are you guys doing? Now, whether the sending in the troops, what kind of long-term, results will that produce? We're going to have to wait and see, right? But it's the idea of doing something. At least he's doing something. In declaring a crime emergency in Washington, Trump wrongly claimed at an August 1st press conference, murders in 2023 reached the highest rate probably ever. Okay? Trump signed an executive order. City's murder rate did increase in 2023 to the highest rate in 20 years, but it wasn't the highest ever, and murders have decreased since. Okay, so they were really, really high. Oh, but you don't want to have the feds come in because they've come down a little bit. They've come off of really elevated numbers and they've come down. So you're all good? You're all good? No. That's not how this game is played, right? People are unsafe. People are freaked out. They're like, good Lord, what's going to happen to me? And that poor woman, we accounted for what happened to her. And she was a crime reporter. I mean, could you imagine, one day you're reading the story, next day you are the story. Or hopefully she wasn't. Crime is down in Washington, D.C., but still a reality in some neighborhoods. This is NPR, National Propaganda Radio. How are they still going? Didn't they get all their funding cut? I hope they do. They're terrible. But let's read this story, right? President Trump began to deploy National Guard troops along with hundreds of federal agents around D.C. this week in a move to crack down on what he calls rampant violent crime. On what he calls? What would you call it? What would you call it? Instead of rampant violent crime, would you call it, pretty orderly nonviolent crime? Getting R-worded? Is that a nonviolent crime? I'm just asking for a friend. Federal government has also taken over the D.C. Metropolitan Police. They federalized it. Some Washingtonians see the president's move as a power play. And it is, because it needs to be done. Wake up, folks. Somebody needs to be doing this. Others say crime in parts of Washington is indeed a big problem, and they welcome more resources. But they doubt deploying federal agents and soldiers is the solution. Well, they always doubt that, and yet they don't have a solution that they're willing to enact that even comes close to having any kind of impact at all. Right? Hey, let's set up some diversion programs so that we can take all these criminals that, need a 45th chance, and let's put them in diversion, not in prison. Ava, a business consultant, lives in the U Street neighborhood, a gentrifying part of the capital where there is a mix of younger professionals and older, longtime Washingtonians. Neighborhood's part of Ward 1, which has 7 homicides and 166 robberies so far this year. Ava, who asked not to use her last name because she's here on a green card, worries about retribution, says that there have been shootings nearby, but she still sees her neighborhood as relatively safe and is comfortable walking home as late as 2 and 3 a.m. I don't walk anywhere at that hour. I'm not out at that hour for the most part. If I'm out past 10 p.m., I got to be coming home from a show or something like that. And not even a late dinner counts, because what am I doing eating at 10 o'clock at night? Yeah. She says the president's descriptions of Washington does not match her reality. All right. Well, a bunch of other crime victims would disagree with you. They would disagree with you. So Washington has had some serious violent crime problems, including carjackings. For instance, in June 2023, amid a crime surge, there were 140 in the city. People are getting jacked left and right. But the U.S. Department says last year, violent crime in the District of Columbia and D.C. hit a 30-year low. So if it hit a 30-year low, why is Trump sending in federal troops? Yeah, right? I mean, this is where reality, and you're seeing these crime stats come out in cities all across the United States. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Crime and the reason a lot of these crime statistics are down, I think, is twofold. Murder rates they're pretty apparent. That's such a shocking thing that those don't get underreported. Somebody gets murdered, you got a dead body, that's going to get covered. But so much of the other crime in these big liberal cities goes unreported. Because people are like, well, the cops aren't going to do anything. I need to get my store back together so I can open up, tomorrow. Police aren't going to do much other than, we'll take a report, if that. If they're not too busy, running around after people who actually have been physically assaulted and those kind of crimes. And on top of that, when you're saying that the crime rates are coming down, that's because you're coming off of some elevated rates. We had some just crazy criminal activity go on during the pandemic and in the years after. Remember when Fentanyl Floyd for a brief second was like a martyr to the left? I mean, still is. But for the rest of us, we're like, yeah, that was a dude that was addicted to fentanyl and he had a bad heart. And he pointed a handgun at a pregnant woman's belly. And he was in there and he was trying to float a fake 20 so he could get some more fentanyl from his fentanyl dealer. And he had pulled that same crap, I can't breathe, before. The rest of us go, that case was just cooked. And they use that, the left used that to basically, all things political for the next 18 months. And they ran on that as a basis. Cops are terrible, defund the police, and then we saw how that worked out. And now Trump is sending in the troops to D.C. Let's keep going here. Federal agents in Trump's crime crackdown set up checkpoint in popular D.C. nightlife area. Well, why is it the nightlife areas? Because it's late at night, you got gangs in there, and gangs have a bunch of guns, and they're always shooting each other. That's what happens. So, good. I mean, some of the, we've got like these hookah lounges here in Seattle, and we've got these nightlife spots, and invariably there's some kind of shooting. I mean, just some kind of crazy shooting going on where it's just this, it's like a shooting range. And you have hundreds of shells just, How they don't hit more people, I don't know. Just terrible shots. Or they just, cranking shots off. Terrible, terrible shots. So you've got this dual narrative of, oh, Trump is terrible because we don't really need any help here. He's federalizing the police department in D.C. and he's threatening to go after other cities. Please come to Seattle. Please come to Seattle. And so, the media is going to pick up one side, and then the right-wing media is going to say, hey, this is warranted. We need this. And we need this not just in D.C. We need a whole bunch of other cities to go, pick me, come to Seattle. Oh, so good. How about this one? This one's classic. The headline reads, D.C. man charged with felony assault after hitting federal agent with Subway sandwich.
Oh!
Tackle that bastard. Hey, what is going on here? I mean, he's not even really trying. He's looking back going, oh, catch me.
He cooked him!
Ugh. Just a bunch of nonsense, right? Just a bunch of nonsense going on. Who knows? Is that a frat prank? Well, I mean, it doesn't really look like it. It looks like some individual that, is should be older than acting more responsible than they are. But not to make light of exactly why Trump is going into D.C., is that you've kind of got this disrespect for law enforcement. And somebody needs to help local law enforcement kind of get going. Hey, this is the right path to go on. The problem with this is that you don't have local politicians on board. You don't have the local judicial system on board. And, you can kind of federalize DC because it's not really a state, but you can't do that in other big cities. So will this have enough overriding positivity of, hey, we had to come in and do this? I liken it to when Greg Abbott basically took over at the southern border because Joe Biden was just letting the whole southern border just be a wasteland of illegals just streaming across, quite literally. And so we saw what happened when Greg Abbott tightened up the border. And we've seen what's happened since Trump got in office and just used executive order after executive order to kind of turn back what Biden had done. This is one more of those things where I don't think it can hurt. I don't think it's going to have huge positive impact, but the optics are such that it's another step in the right direction. It's another step in the right direction. So I'm all for it. I wish, I hope the feds come to Seattle because can you imagine the blue-haired fatties just getting really worked up over that? It'd be beautiful. I'd probably try and live stream that stuff. All right. That's it for me on this one. Thanks so much for being here. Love to have you subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next episode. Bye for now.